now been 1 month since the mass shooting at Old National Bank. 5 lives were taken, countless others changed forever. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shay McAllister.
And I'm Doug Proffitt. But in the past month, we've certainly learned one thing. Louisville is not going to forget as we do try to move forward with real change to honor the victims. These are the 5 victims from April 10th. Joshua Barrick, Dina Eckert, Tommy Elliott, Juliana Farmer, and Jim Tutt. In the days after the shooting, we heard pleas from families, friends, and strangers begging Kentucky lawmakers to take some kind of action.
It is the initial response we've become accustomed to after tragedy hits a community. But talk and action are 2 different things. Just this week, we saw state leaders take steps toward change in Texas and Tennessee, 2 states that recently saw mass shootings. In Texas, Republicans unexpectedly allowed a bill that would raise the purchase age for semi-automatic rifles from 18 to 21. It advanced out of a House committee. And in Tennessee, the Republican governor signed a bill increasing school safety and then called a special session for this summer, calling lawmakers back to the Capitol to pass legislation that would keep firearms away from people who can harm themselves or others. So what have Kentucky lawmakers done in the month since the shooting right here in our town? Bobby McSwine spent the day trying to find out.
It's been 1 month since the mass shooting here at Old National Bank, and state and local Democratic lawmakers are still hopeful and pushing for gun reform to prevent another tragedy like this one.
We got work to do.
That work already in motion. Senator Gerald Neal saying there have been some discussions with Republican lawmakers, but he expects robust conversations in the future.
We must communicate effectively. We must be very intentional and relentless about this.
Mayor Craig Greenberg says he and his administration are going to Frankfort this week to lay out his plan to reduce gun violence.
Everyone in Louisville, everyone across the state wants to make Louisville a safer city, wants to do everything they can to reduce the amount of gun violence. So now we need to talk about the details about how we make that happen. And we've already identified some areas that we are working on where there is common agreement.
Since the mass shooting, Democrats and Republican lawmaker Jason Nemes have publicly mentioned a potential red flag law, with Texas and Tennessee, both Republican-led states, having recently made moves toward gun reform. Greenberg and Neal say it's possible. Greenberg says the details of his plan will be made public in the near future. In Louisville, Bobby McSwine, WHAS 11 on your side.
And tonight we do have a remarkable update for you. Just in, Officer Nicholas Will, who was shot while responding to the Old National Bank shooting, is now being transferred to rehab.
The officer was shot and was in the hospital with critical brain injuries. Now LMPD has posted on social media saying he has improved enough to be transferred out of the hospital and into a rehabilitation facility. The department said while they are excited he's got to this point, this will be another battle for him to fight. And coming up at 5:30, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Mohammed Baber. He's a physician who practices internal medicine and geriatric medicine right here in Louisville.
He's also a peace advocate who has repeatedly called for a change in gun control legislation. We're going to have his thoughts 1 month now after the Old National Bank shooting. That's coming up right here at 5:30.
Today, the People's Consent Decree Coalition gathered downtown to voice their demands for Louisville Metro government and LMPD as the city negotiates the consent decree with the U.S. Department of Justice. The coalition says city leadership never listened to Louisville citizens and refused to make the situation right at every chance they had. Now they have demands for the negotiations. They want public acknowledgement of the culture problem within LMPD. They also want a clear timeline of what the LMPD improvement process will look like, and they want the community to be a part of every step of the process.
We demand that community-suggested and approved members be part of the negotiations. A clear plan needs to be developed to ensure that community members will be involved in every step of the negotiations and monitoring moving forward. Having a few community listening sessions to collect community input is not adequate.
They are also calling for Louisville Metro government to divert funding from LMPD toward critical community needs, like affordable housing programs or shelters. They also called for the charges to be dropped against those arrested during the 2020 protests.
Another amazing day today as we had lower humidity, great sleeping weather across Kentuckiana, and a little bit of clouds showing up, but we do have more rain on the way, and it's now going to impact our weekend.
Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Ben Pine on what you can expect.
Yeah, just keep the umbrella handy over the next several days. Basically, after today, a stormy, busier weather pattern on the way. And Doug, you mentioned that humidity, look at that, down to 29%. Nice and dry out there. It's going to be a very lovely evening. Temperatures will be staying in the 70s until after sunset, which is right around 8:45 p.m. these days. And those temperatures right now, 76 in Corydon, same in Lebanon, some 77s here around Madison, Carrollton, Frankfort, and over towards Paoli and Munfordville checking in at 78. Mostly sunny sky overhead throughout the Ohio Valley. You see the active weather off to our southwest. Some of that is going to be heading our direction by tomorrow afternoon. So Futurecast again remains nice and quiet for the evening time. Nice take a stroll around the neighborhood with those temps in the 70s. And then overnight low temperatures will be in the 50s to the lower 60s. A dry start tomorrow through the morning time. But as we warm up the afternoon, the air becomes a little bit unstable and a few storms could fire up during the mid and late afternoon hours, especially with temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s. So it's going to be warm, more humid with that chance for a few of those downpours. Thankfully, the severe weather threat remains low tomorrow and through this weekend. So some high clouds streaming through the area tonight. Low temperature 58. Temperatures already in the mid to upper 70s by lunchtime tomorrow, and our high temperature up to 81 with about a 60% chance of that shower or thunderstorm for tomorrow afternoon and evening time. Again, I mentioned it's a busier weather pattern. We're going to be tracking a lot more storm chances coming up in our complete First Alert Storm Team forecast.
All right, Ben, thank you very much. Well, voter turnout for next Tuesday's Kentucky primary is expected to be really low. Even with those high-profile ads and the Republicans going at each other, the primary turnout will say something about voter interest.
We want to make sure you're prepared, whether you are waiting for Election Day or voting early. Grace McKenna's in studio now, breaking down what voters need to know, as well as some changes this year. Grace?
Yeah, Shay, Doug, one really important thing that Jefferson County voters need to know is that they'll have 3 additional places to vote early this election. 3 more polling places for that election, and that's important because early voting starts tomorrow.
With Kentucky's primary election looming, Secretary of State Michael Adams expects 15% or less of the electorate will go to the polls.
This is the election out of a 4-year cycle that has the lowest turnout.
That would be down from 2019's 19% primary turnout, which was nearly double the count in 2011. Adams expects between low turnout and a greater push to early voting, lines shouldn't be an issue.
Studies show that over time, states that enact early voting, the voting begins to be displaced over the days and kind of smoothed out, and that makes it easier for us to run the election. It takes, though, a few cycles for that to catch on.
3 days of no excuse early voting kickoff Thursday. Jefferson County added 3 new locations this year for a total of 10.
The law states that it's no less than 8 hours to vote. We're allowing 10 hours each day at all 10 of our locations.
So far, about 200 people in the county have voted early excused. Another 2,400 requested mail-in ballots. Elections officials remind voters they can only vote within their registered party this time around.
Other parties, like independent, they unfortunately will not be able to cast a ballot because with Kentucky's laws, primaries are open only to Democrats and Republicans.
Adams says that's something else that could impact Election Day lines.
What's going to hurt our turnout especially is on the Democratic side. There's only 2 primaries out of 6 offices. 4 of their 6 offices, there's not a primary.
And getting ahead of security rumors, Adams says on time or early, your vote is secure.
We don't see who has how many votes. I don't know how many votes I have or the governor has or anyone else. So let me just shoot that conspiracy theory down right now.
If you choose not to vote early, don't forget Election Day is next Tuesday. Polls will be open then from 6 until 6. In the studio, Grace McKenna, WHAS 11 on your side.
All right, Grace, thank you. Right now, we have everything you need to know about the Kentucky primary on our election guide. You can find out where to vote, get some candidate information, and also learn what you can bring to the ballots. You can find that all right now on WHAS11.com.
Now, some happenings from the campaign trail in this race. A prominent GOP candidate making anti-trans comments ahead of the election. Republican candidate for Kentucky Governor Kelly Craft saying at a recent gubernatorial town hall that if elected, quote, we will not have transgenders in our school system, end quote. Well, during the telephone town hall, she made the comment twice, then going on to say, quote, with Governor Craft, you will not have to worry about transgender and any of those left woke, insane ideologies taught to our children, end quote. The campaign was also asked about these anti-trans comments by Craft, saying, despite saying it twice, the campaign said, quote, of course, Craft was referring to the woke ideologies being pushed in our schools. Now, her comments about the transgender community were immediately denounced as desperate and disgusting by the Fairness Campaign. The LGBTQ organization said Kraft was hoping to appeal to the smallest and most extreme wing of her party. In the telephone town hall, she did not expand on specific policies that she would propose involving transgender students, but her running mate, Senator Max Wise, did sponsor the sweeping anti-transgender laws that were passed in Kentucky this year, banning gender-affirming care for young people in Kentucky. Chris Hartman with the Fairness Campaign pointed out that Kraft cannot keep these campaign promises, and they do nothing but harm trans students.